Hey guys, this is Future Jarhead here. Been really frustrated trying to work with the editor in the Arma 3 alpha, specifically with the AI. We all know that Arma has never had great AI, but trying to get the AI to behave in this close urban environment has been fucking hell. There's really no excuse, even for this being an alpha. Like, it seems like it's a huge step back even from what Arma 2 is. At least in Arma 2, when you told someone to get in a vehicle, drive to a point, and then get out at that point, they got out at that point. I have everything set up properly, so they should get out right around here. The vehicle should be stopping here, so they can get out. For some reason, though, they stopped up here. Look at that. Like 100 feet away from where I told them to go. This has been my experience anytime I try and get them to do anything. I have to create some kind of elaborate setup that tricks them to get to them to the actual position that I want them to be in. And then once I get that done, which takes a lot of trial and error and figuring out exactly what angle will convince them that it's okay to leave the fucking road. And then when I finally get that to happen, and I finally get them off the road, and I've never seen them actually get completely off the road. They always have like their little fucking tailgate hanging out just over the edge of the road or something. That's as far off the road I've ever gotten them in here. And then once I have that, and I have to set up like a trigger to get them to get out after that, because if I use waypoints or anything else, they get out 10 minutes early. They do shit like this. Like, how are we supposed to design a mission in this area if none of the fucking AI knows what to do? They don't know how to deal with these bridges. Look at this. These guys shouldn't be getting caught up at all. This should just be more road. But here you have these guys hanging out, not knowing what to do. And if they were in a vehicle, they just would stop at the foot of the bridge, and they wouldn't cross it. I have yet to figure out a way to get them to actually cross a fucking bridge in a vehicle. They just stop there. And even if there's a waypoint elsewhere, even if I have a waypoint that gets them, takes them down somewhere around here, and then a waypoint that would have them have to cross the road to get, over here, they don't try and pathfind around the bridge. They just sit in front of the bridge and do nothing. It's useless. They don't try and find another way around. They don't take the roads all the way up there and come back around. They don't even try and come down here or anything like that. They don't do anything. They just fucking stop. Like, the AI in this game needs to be better. We need to be able to tell it what to do and expect it to do what we tell it to do. If I put a point over here, the fucking AI needs to just drive there. I don't care if the AI thinks it's bad to drive there. If I'm telling the AI to do something, it should do it. If that means that they need to create a new behavior mode that says, okay, you don't give a fuck about what your AI routines say, you just do what the waypoint says to do, to a fucking T, fine. I don't care if that's what it takes. I don't mind, generally speaking, I don't mind having setting behavior and stuff like that and having them kind of figure things out as they go. But when you need to get them to do something specific, like when you're trying to add life to this town, because right now there's no, real working module to add civilian life, because it just adds a bunch of empty trucks everywhere and a, smattering of, 3 or 4 guys walking around the city. It looks like, I feel like I'm in Dead Island when I use that fucking thing. So I'm trying to make it so there's at least a little bit going on inside this town, But right now, the only thing I've fucking gotten to work is these freaking rabbits, that's it. And even the rabbits don't know what to do. Look at that. The rabbit just walked to that wall. Like, this is not acceptable. Like, I don't know, maybe they're rehauling the AI to such an extent that it's taking this huge step backwards, and we have to wait for, the beta or even the full game before actual working AI is in the game. But why in the hell have we not gotten tools to actually tell the AI what to do? Why can't I just set up my own pathing? Why can't I tell the AI, okay, here's the path I want you to take, and I want you to stop at this point. I don't want you to figure out anything along this way. I want to tell you what to do, so you don't have to figure it out. It's just you following a line. I'm so tired of having to struggle with the AI to get it to do anything. Even in a big open freaking field, you tell them to run in a straight line, they don't know what to do. Like, they really don't. They have no idea. And they were supposed to change this stuff. They were supposed to improve this stuff, but, I mean, I have this little fire team. Starts way down the road down that way. And if you go look at them when they're getting in formation, they're fucking running around. The one in the back has a tendency to just run the opposite direction he's supposed to, and then he has to run to catch up. This guy likes to just kind of spin in circles. like, the Point Man's the only one so far that's consistently stuck to everything. Everyone else trying to catch up and fall in and all that stuff, like, they look like idiots. Once they finally get going, they're okay, until they run into something like the fucking bridge and they get caught up in each individual unit behaves completely differently, even though they should all be taking the same damn path. I mean, they're in a file formation, or column formation. They should be taking the exact same path, but for some reason, they don't. For some reason, when one guy reaches the bridge, he's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to pass over. This guy in the front, he passed over the bridge, as far as I could tell, without any problems. He didn't stop, he didn't stare around, he didn't spin in circles. But the other three guys got caught up on the edge. One of them was walking into the barrier. And then the other two were caught up on that guy, waiting for him to go forward. And then when he finally went forward, the next one just started freaking out as well. I mean, I just don't understand why... If Bohemia can't figure out how to make a proper AI in this kind of game, which I understand is difficult, I'm not saying it's something that should be super easy and all this other stuff, but if they can't figure out how to do it properly, at the very least, please, give us control over the AI. Give us real control. I don't mean some script that I have to fucking hunt through Arma or whatever to find and get it set up and do all this work. It shouldn't be that kind of work just to tell an AI a specific path to take. You know? Give us tools like setting up our own pathing. Give us tools to show us give us tools to show us what the AI is going to do. You know? Visualize the AI's pathfinding based on the waypoints we have while we're in the editor. I shouldn't have to come in and preview this just to see what they do and how they move and how they fucking clip corners and all this other stupid stuff. I should be able to just put the waypoints down, click a button, take 5 seconds to generate the actual path that the AI will take. Okay? But for whatever reason, these things are completely missing. If you use any other editor out there, all these tools exist. Being able to visualize AI pathing, that's something that most editors have. You know, and I know that the editor in Arma has never been particularly traditional. For one, it's pretty much purely 2D. You can use the 3D one in Arma too, but it's broken because it's not supposed to be used by actual consumers. You know, it's just some half-finished code or whatever that was left in and not taken out that no one was supposed to get at. And honestly, I think that the editor needs a lot of work, and I get that a lot of people have already kind of figured out how to do things within the restrictions, and I also know that a lot of people like to do it. They like the way that the editor works in some ways because things are more dynamic, and you're not really, you know, you're not scripting things necessarily in the sense that you're not making very specific things happen. But the truth of the matter is we all do that. When you're making a mission, you have to do that sometimes. Like if you want to have a proper helicopter insertion, you can't trust the AI. When the AI comes up on the point, they climb 200 fucking meters every time they come to the point where they're supposed to land. You know? Like, if we're not going to get the tools, or if we're not going to get an AI that's capable of doing what we need it to do, then we need to be given the tools to control the AI more granularly, basically. I shouldn't have to depend on a million scripts and you know, hours and hours of fucking trial and error just to get this truck right here to pull off the road and stop here. You know? Or here. This is a very big space. You could easily fit just about any vehicle you can imagine in Arma into this space. So why in the hell can't the AI manage to get that pickup truck from up there on that hill down here, turn this corner without hitting that, without busting up any of these signs, come over here and drive right here and stop the car, get out, and then proceed to the next waypoint? Why can't they do that? I can't really think of any good excuse other than the AI just is not good. It's just not a good AI. And part of that is because people aren't given enough control over what the AI does. If the AI was awesome and could figure all this stuff out, if the AI knew how to drive on a road properly, especially in an urban terrain, like, the AI is fine when it's driving on, you know, a road out in the middle of nowhere. Because there's not a lot of intersections it has to deal with. And even when there is an intersection, it's not the end of the world if you cut the corner because, hey, It's a dirt road, and there's nothing stopping you from going through. If this truck clips a corner here, what happens is he gets fucking caught up on this thing. He either gets stuck, or he fucking almost flips over, and it looks really dumb. And he damages the vehicle, potentially damages stuff in the environment, making it look like a fucking drunken idiot was driving through here, just crashing into everything. And it doesn't work, you know? If you're trying to create, you know, a mission in this area, you want these specific things to happen for specific reasons, you just can't do it. And I get this as an alpha, but these are problems that Arma has had in the past. I'm pretty sure the AI is not it's not a whole new AI. They haven't built it from the ground up. This is stuff that we've had problems with in Arma 2. And probably before that, I don't know. I came into Arma 2 pretty late. But in Arma 2, we had these problems. Exact same problems. Not some of it not exactly the same, maybe. I mean, I had an easier time in Arma 2 getting fucking vehicles to go where I wanted them to go, and to do what I wanted when they got there. You know, it wasn't difficult to get a helicopter to land on a very specific spot. It wasn't difficult to get a car to drive to a very specific spot. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if it's because of this urban terrain that we have to deal with, and that the AI just doesn't know how to handle properly. I don't know what it is, but Bohemia has got to give us some kind of better tool. Whether it's a better AI that knows what it's doing, and, you know, maybe it's in part of it, I suspect part of it at least, is that this area just isn't set up properly for the AI. A lot of the things that the AI needs to work off of probably they're either not here, they're not optimized, or they're just kind of roughly done. I suspect that's why some things like them cutting corners happens. I mean, I'm serious. If you watch them drive around in here, they will always hit something when they take a turn, because they're always going to hit the corner of something, or they're going to hit some lamppost, or they're going to hit something. Because they don't take a turn properly. They don't come out here and turn in. You know? They drive like lunatics. They really do. It's ridiculous. And like I don't know what I'm supposed to do here, because I've got all these places. If I want to, like, I could potentially have a vehicle, drive around, and just have them not use the fucking bridges, and hope that they don't run into anything. Hope they don't run over other people. That's another issue that I've had. I used the well, at one point I had the like civilian site module or whatever up here, which spawned a bunch of civilians. Not very many. For some reason, up on that hill there, where there's kind of a few sparser buildings, like that, like these stone buildings, there was tons of people all over that hill. It's like some kind of festival was going on up there. There's almost no one down here in the actual town, which was really bizarre. Like, there was like 5 people in the entire town. And there were a bunch of just trucks abandoned at weird angles in the street. And some of them were like, one of them was like caught up here, its back end was up on top of this, and it was pointing off in that direction. I mean, it really did look like I was running around in a dead island, a better looking dead island, like, town. It was really weird. Like, and I get it, it's not complete, whatever, and that's part of what makes me think that it's just that the stuff that the AI needs to work off of isn't there, you know? These roads aren't properly optimized, and the AI hasn't been taught how to turn in a environment like this and stuff like that, but I don't know, like, I would like to know what Bohemia's plans are with the AI. I'd like to know if we're going to get an AI that's actually capable of behaving properly. Hell, if all you're gonna do is give us an easy-to-use, like, function to record movement that works with everything, so that when a truck moves somewhere or whatever, if I want to drive that truck and record that motion, and when I play it back in a mission, it works properly, the wheels move, the guys inside are moving, that it looks like they're actually driving around, and it's not just a thing translating around the world, that'd be awesome, you know? That would be cool. I think that would be a good solution, because it adds a little more, you know, natural movement to it all, instead of it just looking like an AI. But you know what? It looking like an AI is okay, as long as it doesn't look like an idiot AI. As long as it doesn't look like a drunk person driving around, that's enough. Because this is just supposed to be the backdrop for a mission. This is not specifics. Now, of course, this could easily just be a problem that I was having with a very specific mission, you know? Say I wanted a vehicle to stop here, a military vehicle full of, you know, troops. Maybe I would need them to stop here and, for very specific reasons. Maybe they were using cover, and that was a good place where it would, allow them to disembark without being, obliterated by enemy forces somewhere else. Or maybe, doing some kind of like SWAT thing, SWAT thing, sorry, not squat. Some kind of SWAT mission where, the truck pulls up here and all the SWAT pours out, and they go into this house and, take out some guy who's holding some people hostage. I can't do that if the AI doesn't know how to behave in this area. I can't do that if I have no way of tricking or forcing the AI into doing what I want it to do. And I don't understand why we don't have the tools to do these things. I don't understand why I can't just tell the AI what to do. I know what I want the vehicle to do very specifically. I don't mind putting the time in, drawing out the path to go and follow. I don't mind that. It's not that big of a deal. Because it's not really that difficult. It's pretty simple. And I could even, if it'd be even awesomer if it was just like, here, the AI can handle this stuff, but where it can't handle it, you can instead put in a segment that's a path, It's not that difficult to work with paths. I've worked with paths in other applications, whether it's a 3D editor for a game like the CryEngine stuff, or a 3D application like Blender or Maya, or even Photoshop. Like, these all have these the ability to create simple, smooth paths. Why we can't do that and apply that to like an AI movement is beyond me, because that's not a strange feature for a game to have. Having control over where these guys move, that's not strange at all. That's pretty typical, actually. Most video games today, they're a combination of AIs figuring out how to move, having points in the environment where they know they should move to, like cover points and stuff like that. And as well, scripted movement. That's where it's, this guy is going to move in this very particular way. And yeah, I know, that's a Call of Duty thing. But you know what? Sometimes that's the easiest way to do things. Sometimes the AI is not smart enough to go through all the stuff in the way that you want them to. Sometimes you need more control. When you're making a mission, you need more control than go to this rough area, get out of the car, That might work if I was trying to get some, insurgents to, speed into the town and then pour out of a truck and start shooting people. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have this guy stop over here, walk into the shop, pick up some groceries, go back into his truck, and drive home. Or, over here, I spent hours and hours and hours trying to get a freaking truck just like that one to pull in right here. Look at this space. There's a car. That's how wide the car is. There's at least enough space for 3 of those freaking things right here, side by side. So why the AI can't just drive that truck right in here and park it right here? Or park it right here. I tried to move here. One time I was able to get to move in, but it was still hanging out like this far. Like, it's useless. You're obstructing the road. I can't have anyone else drive along this road because you'll fucking ram into the truck, and that won't look good, and I can't have that going on because this isn't supposed to be some lawless, Wild West Russian city of horrible drivers. It's supposed to be a peaceful, island. There's some bros. They're enjoying their spring break. That's what this is for. Alright? And yes, eventually other shit's gonna happen. But I can't get anything that I want to happen because I don't have any control over what the AI does. I don't have any control over what these units do. And it's weird because in some ways I have a lot of control. If I wanted, I could have them walk here, sit down, salute you, and then turn around 3 times and switch to a very specific gun, and then teleport one gun from one guy to another, even though the other guy's halfway across the map. What I can't do is tell him where to fucking move. I can't tell him where he should be going. I cannot specifically say, you need to go here, 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 and here. I can't draw a line, go like that, take a turn, drive like a sane person, don't run into walls. I can't do that. And if Arma is going to get anywhere, near the, I guess the detail and stuff like that of something like Call of Duty, like, yes, Call of Duty is not realistic. That doesn't change the fact that there's a lot more going on in those missions, that's more organic and detailed and interesting to look at than guys running around, In the real world, people don't just run from point to point. They don't just go from cover to cover. There's more going on in the world, There's population centers where people are going from one place to another, You look at like a game like Oblivion or Skyrim, where they tried to have the AI have, these routines where they would walk around town and they'd go to the store and they'd pick up this and that and they'd go home and they'd eat at this time and they'd sleep at this time. And a lot of that stuff was really fucked up because, in Oblivion and Skyrim, people don't sleep at night. You'd think, well, I'm a thief, so I can go in and go and do this thing. But that was the only problem with that stuff, really. I mean, it wasn't super detailed, it wasn't super realistic, but it was pretty good for what it was, for just a bunch of random, nameless AIs just kind of wandering around this world. So if we're not going to have that kind of tool, at the very least we should be able to craft that kind of thing, And I think I don't know, I think it kind of like, I think it says a lot about the development kind of mentality at Bohemia that we're not given this kind of control. As if nobody wants to do that kind of stuff. As if nobody wants to make this really cinematic thing. I mean, in reality, things are pretty well orchestrated, but they're also pretty organic, and things just kind of happen. Sometimes someone just decides to go to the freaking store, and they want to pick up some chocolate or something like that. So they go to, some little store on the seafront or on the waterfront that has, the best chocolate on the whole island. And sometimes they've got to go grocery shopping, and sometimes they've got to go visit their grandma. The problem is that I can't do any of that stuff here. So even though I want to create a really cool area where there's things happening and the AI is moving around and it looks realistic and organic as opposed to here's this guy just driving along the road and no one's ever stopping or doing anything, no one's talking to anyone, no one's sitting down eating, nothing like that. I mean, hey, I'm not expecting them to add all that stuff. I don't need them to add like animations for old guys sitting and playing chess and eating food and all that stuff. It would be cool if we had a couple animations like that to make like civilian population a little more realistic, as in past games it was pretty much these models would walk around and kind of wander around, they'd hang out in a house, maybe they'd sit down, and that's about it. You didn't really see people interacting with anything. And that would be cool to have, but honestly, I would be happy if I could just make people move around how I want them to. Drive through town, all that stuff. So, I don't know, like, maybe I'm crazy and I'm asking way too much. I don't know what's going on there, but, and maybe that's not something that most, Arma editors want. And I'm sure there are ways for me to do this stuff. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm the most advanced editor in the world. I'm not a scripter, I'm not a programmer, And I shouldn't have to be to use an editor to get basic things to happen, like unit moving from point A to point B, and actually making it to point B, I don't want him in the city, I want him in this spot. I want him in the specific parking space that I want him into. That's where he should be. That's where he should be going, And I also want to be able to place people how I want to place them. I shouldn't have to use a freaking 2D editor to make a mission in this game. It shouldn't all be based on scripts and logic. That stuff is really cool. I love it. Like games like or missions like MSO and Insurgency are really cool, and that's the kind of Arma I generally prefer. But there's still other fun stuff to have. Like this mission that I'm trying to do now. It's simple, but I wanted to have stuff going on to make it so that it felt a little less simple. One of the first missions I ever made in Arma. It was just a really simple, it wasn't even really a mission, there was not really much combat to it, because I didn't get very far in it, because it took so long for me to get what I did get done. But it was on Utis, and I was making a bunch of, I made basically a big military camp, and I painstakingly placed everything, because nothing has proper scale in the 2D editor, so you have to figure out what the actual scale is compared to what the 2D scale is, because it's kind of accurate, but not accurate enough, to the point where if you're placing Esco barriers based on the scale in the 2D editor, half the time there's a 4 or 5 inch gap between each fucking barrier, which isn't really good enough if you're trying to actually fortify a position, because 4 or 5 inches is, that's enough. Why would you have that space when you couldn't? So then I have to go in and see, okay, well now I know there's 4 or 5 inches, and as I recall, it was more than 4 or 5 inches. It was a significant gap. So I had to figure that out, and then I had to make sure that everything lined up perfectly, and there was other things that were far worse. They just didn't have scale at all, really. You know, like the ammo boxes. I've got no idea how big the ammo box is, because it doesn't actually show the actual scale. Anything that's on a vehicle in that 2D editor is really difficult to place accurately, because it seems like vehicles are the only thing that are actually scaled in the 2D editor. You know, when you actually zoom in on them, they actually show the real scale compared to the rest of the world. But most of the other stuff doesn't, you know? Like, stuff like that. It's like, how am I supposed to work with an editor that works that way? That's a huge limitation. And if you were to remove that limitation, it would make things so much easier. I mean, when I worked on a 3D editor, it was janky as all fuck. It was almost useless because it was so janky. But, you know, at the same time, I was able to do so much more, so much faster, so much more efficiently, because I was able to just place things in the 3D world, see how it looked, and then if I didn't like it, I could move it a little bit, I could tweak it a little bit, I could do all these things. Because I had the freedom of the 3D editor that allows me to place things where I want them. I can move them up and down, left and right, I can rotate them, you know? And there's more that I'd like to do. I mean, I'd like to be able to do more than just spin them around like they're on a disc, you know, especially something like you know, some of the objects like a backpack. It looks kind of weird if the backpacks are all just laying down on the you know, the back of it. And they're all in the exact same position. It'd be cool if I could prop them up against something, you know, things like that. Things that other editors allow you to do. These are basic controls in other editors. These are the things that you learn how to do first in something like a CryEngine editor, or you know, the Far Cry editor, or any of these other editors that you use. These are really simple, basic features. You know, even in Halo, you know, in Forge or whatever, you can do these things. You know? So it's weird to me that in this game it's easier to make a unit do this than it is to have them do this. You know, that shouldn't be the case. And I don't know, I mean, I'm the kind of person who likes to work. When I work, I don't need to, you know, I don't need to bare bones to make it functional, because I don't think that's what makes it efficient. Don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with that stuff. That kind of stuff is fine sometimes. I mean, MSO doesn't have a whole lot of at this world. Do you think that this island was created by someone, putting funky commands in and stuff? Absolutely not. All this stuff was created, with a lot of care and a lot of effort, and a lot of time was spent making this stuff look the way it does. And this stuff is awesome. Like, look at this place. This is really cool. And this game looks fantastic, and all the environments are pretty well detailed and all this stuff, and it's a bummer that I can't do the same with my missions. I can't put the same amount of effort and detail into my missions because I don't have the tools to it. There's just no way for me to do it, I mean, I can't, spend 3 hours perfecting the position of something because the only way I can change some numbers